All right, y'all. What's up? JDB Sports here. Not Saturday, but it's a Monday night edition. We're looking to change a new schedule. We'll have a new schedule coming shortly. We're a little late tonight, but without further ado, Peyton here, me, Alex. How y'all doing tonight? We're here to cover the NFC North, our grades, our feelings after free agency, and who do we think that we're going to draft. Just a disclaimer: I'm using last week's draft mock draft, so if you were in here, you already know what my mock draft is.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
get
Cooked up a
let's
late one, late and great. Let's get into the Bears.
let's get to it. They got 9.9 mil in cap space, go for 29th in the league. They need defensive line and linebacker, in my opinion. We got some key departures for them. We got Darrington Evans went to the Bills. Keenan Allen's unsigned. DeAndre Carter went to the Browns. Colin Johnson's unsigned. Gerald Everett's unsigned. Mercedes Lewis is unsigned. Larry Borum is at the Dolphins. Jake Curhan is at the Cardinals. Tevin Jenkins is at the Browns. Matt Pryor to the Eagles. Coleman Shelton to the Rams. Daryl Taylor to the Texans. Jacob Martin went to my Commanders. We got Demarcus Walker unsigned. Byron Cowart to the Jets. And Patrick Scales is unsigned. Long snapper. Hopefully he gets some work.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of losses there. As far as the glaring ones in your eyes, what would you pick as probably their biggest departure?
I'm looking at obviously some offensive line help, but maybe Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen or Gerald Everett, really, but I'm looking more towards Keenan Allen only for the fact that they only signed Alameda Zacchaeus out of that. I feel like Keenan Allen's better than Alameda Zacchaeus, but they did get younger at the position, so I can't hate the move.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to go along with you as well. I mean, a really good tandem at your 1-2 of DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. And I think they addressed offensive line enough where it's perfect. But yeah, you like having the veteran and Keenan there to rile the troops in the receiving room. But hopefully DJ Moore can turn into that as the veteran in the room and, be a lot better.
Yeah, so let's get into some of these signings. Do you want to hit them off? Hit off what you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hit off a few of them. As far as the offense goes, I'm looking mainly at Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney, left and right guard for him, replaces Tevin Jenkins and Coleman Shelton, left and right guard of last year, in a way better fashion. Feel like this just solidifies the run game a lot more, what Ben Johnson's trying to do in the play action game as well.
It, definitely trying to keep looking to try to keep not Daniels, looking to try to keep Williams in the pocket and not to make him play hero Superman ball. I like the Drew Dahlman signing as well. 3 year, 42 mil. One of the more talked about centers going in the free agency. Caleb Williams finally gets his protection that he needs. He has a strong run blocker, especially in zone Russian schemes. So I feel like he'll fit just fine. Um, Also got on the defensive side, you got Grady Jarrett on a 3 year, 42.7 mil deal. He's been wreaking havoc for years with the Falcons. I expect him to only get better being on the Bears with the likes of Montez Sweat and Daya Odeyingbo. Something like that.
Okay,
Something like that.
pronunciation on point. Okay.
All right. And he's also the one that we talk about, 3 year, 48 mil. A little lackluster in run support, but effective at rushing the passer. Like this move, really needed an edge after losing 3 in free agency. So literally, they're addressing what they need to address, and they're really building in those trenches. They also got Durham Smythe at a 1 year, 2.5 mil deal, and then also Case Keenum at a 1 year, 2.25 mil deal. Iffy backup option, in my opinion, but good veteran presence nonetheless. When he was on the Commanders, when they had the swing quarterbacks, I think back in 2018, 2019. Just serviceable at most. I mean, they were talking about him in 2017 with the whole Minneapolis Miracle, I believe. But it is what it is. I think Diggs really made that happen.
Yeah, and I think it was again a defensive letdown in that game. He had caught magic in a bottle 1 year and hasn't been able to replicate it. But yeah, I think it's a fine move. A lot of the holes that the Bears needed to fill, they did fill. I would say the only needs really left are linebacker, running back in a better zone scheme. Like DeAndre Swift isn't the most effective back, in all honesty, a little bit inefficient. A left tackle, and then more defensive line juice in that regard.
Yeah, dude's not as swift as he makes it seem. But all right, maybe you should go join the Swifties in Kansas City. I don't know.
Oh.
let's get to these grades. I mean, we got Lamade Zacchaeus also at a 1 year, 1.5 mil. I just wanted to say that right now. Former commander. He dropped a big trick play against Dallas, literally right in the hands. De'Ami Brown threw that right in his hands. Um, he's inconsistent, but can be effective as a solid, a two, but a solid three, really, because like you said, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore are top two. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like Keenan Allen's better in that position, but again, getting younger at the position, and he can pop off when needed. He's shown that he's reliable to actually catch some balls, except for that trick play. But dude's got some type of hands.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean it's better than Stones. My free agency grade, if you want to hop right into that for the Bears, the upgrade of that O line, it'll do wonders for Caleb Williams. I like their pickups. Wonder which version of Alameda Zacchaeus did they actually get. Like I said, either the one where he was actually showing up and being that solid number two, or the one where he was being phased out for the likes of Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey and things like that. Well, I think he was always over Luke McCaffrey, but Noah Brown. It was a wide receiver two by committee over there in Washington. So um, just like that they get I like that they get him. He's solid. It's good to get younger at the position and cheaper, I guess. He hasn't really been on the injury report much. The injury report much. Um, my grade after all this yapping. Sorry about that, y'all. A minus, in my opinion, probably the best grade in the North so far.
Okay.
Um, what do you got going on for the Bears?
Yeah. I'll give it an A off rip. I don't think you can do much better than this in regards to free agency. They knew they had a lot of money. They went out and spent it on veterans, but at the same time signed young guys with promise as well. Ode Bingo, and then yeah, tough one, right? And Jonah Jackson, young as well. Drew Dahlman grow into something like what they did there. They built the trenches. They gutted their coaching staff. I'll go A, and I think they end up after the draft 10-7. What do you think?
I'm saying 11-5. I mean, I'm going to give him a little bit more of a little bit more of a nod over there. So he gets my nod of approval. Like I said, he has done what is needed to turn around the Bears. Depending on how he drafts now, with the uncertainty on both the Lions and the Vikings and their quarterback positions with the Vikings and their Lions with the Lions would lose in their coaching staff. Well, most of their coaching staff. I don't know. I just believe that the Bears can sneak their way to a division win. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for looking alive and glad you made it, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Like I said, with the Lions losing much of their coaching staff and the Vikings quarterback situation with J.D. McCarthy potentially starting, just think they sneak in the first place here on a down year in the North. But maybe the Packers have something to say about it.
Yeah.
And with their draft pick, I had them getting Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. He is quick and versatile. So even if they don't look at him for the free safety role, he could definitely play some slot corner and keep up with his man-to-man coverage. So pretty quick guy, yeah.
Yeah, I like the Malachi Starks pick a lot. In my recent mock, I actually had him falling, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, actually. But I respect the 11-6 pick. Just really hard to go from last to first in this echelon of division, especially because there are still question marks about the sacks that Caleb Williams takes and the high-end talent of that Bears defense and how a new coach will react to that. But yeah, I got another Georgia guy. I got Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia at pick 10. I just think it fits their needs a lot. You get some pass rushing juice, but at the same time, you get a linebacker who can also shift into coverage. Very versatile. He's sliding up a lot of boards. I've seen him go as early as 5 in mock drafts to the Jaguars. And Jaguars aren't announced of taking projects and taking people outside the box. I think he can end up as high as 5, but I see 10.
I actually have your mock in Discord. By the way, join our Discord right up there, wherever, above Peyton's head. Go ahead and join our Discord server. You can ramble with the other fans. You can post your own mock drafts. You can post some speculations. We don't judge here. I post in there, rip Kyron Lacey when he passed away. we also we'll keep up with our stream scheduling. So going forward, we'll let y'all know in that Discord chat when we're going to be live, and if anything changes all of a sudden, because we're both busy men with busy schedules and things like that. We also have a Madden chat if y'all want to get on there and jaw about Madden, playing that as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Get in these Detroit Lions. You want to hit it off with them real quick because I think you had them not so well graded as far as free agency goes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did have them a little lower grade than I think consensus has them. 48.9 million in cap space, actually a lot of room to work with. Surprised they didn't get more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. Positions of need, I have it right guard, defensive end, and defensive tackle. Not a lot going for the Lions in free agency thus far. What do you think their biggest needs are?
Dude, hang on, let me get right to that. I said right guard, defensive tackle, and linebacker. They lost a decent amount of pieces, but they really signed. They signed DJ Reed to a 3-year, $48 million deal. I can't hate on that one. A lot of people wanted DJ Reed. You also got Levi on. I'm not. Onwuzurike.
Ozarike, I believe.
There you go.
Nice
Yeah,
pronunciation.
trying my best. 1 year, $4 million deal. You also got Roy Lopez on a 1 year, $3.5 million deal. Khalil Dorsey, cornerback, on a 2 year, $3.3 million deal. Tim Patrick, 1 year, $2.5 million deal. Rocky Sin, 1 year, $1.17 million. I like that name, Rocky Sin.
It's a pretty damn cool name.
You also got Kyle Allen too, a quarterback, 270 mil. But yeah, I think them losing a lot as far as Zadarius Smith. I think that's their key. Or what do you think?
Yeah, among the key losses, I had really their biggest positions in need. I would say corner they filled out pretty well in getting an upgrade there.
Right.
But I mean, losing Carlton Davis, losing Kevin Zeitler to the Titans doesn't help. But yeah, I would say Zadarius Smith. You get an Aiden Hutchinson back this year, and that will help a lot. Bringing back Marcus Davenport also helps the edge room a little bit. I just think that room is a little bit thin. I like their defensive tackles as well. I think Ali McNeil is a star. However, I wish they addressed that defensive line part of their team a little bit more.
Definitely. I'm giving them a C in their free agency if you want to head to that one. They lost quite a few pieces, but if anyone can rig up a squad full of players that didn't succeed elsewhere, like Jared Goff, Dan Campbell's your man. Wish they would have addressed DT more, like you were saying before, like the Vikings did.
Yeah.
They didn't do offensive line any favors here either. So, what you think?
I like how established their team is already. I do think it's a super talented team. I do think the defense got unlucky last year, and you saw a lot of the injuries come into play the back half of the year to derail that defense. However, this is a free agency class where your aspirations were a little bit bigger, and you wanted to turn that stone into becoming a Super Bowl contender. I just think you had to address that defense more, and it's a D for me. So a little more harsh.
Yeah, I want to be a little bit more optimistic with these teams, just a little bit. 7-10 is the record. Yes, 7-10. I'm giving them last in the division. I just think the losses are too much. I feel like everybody else has gotten better, where the Lions have kind of lost. Just think the losses are too much to overcome. Plus an iffy free agency. I just think the defense might be another sore spot this year. I mean, them last year with all their injuries didn't help, but I don't know. 7-10. I'm just gonna stick with it. Stick to my guns. Keep the receipts, y'all. If y'all want to come back for me when they win the Super Bowl next year, I mean, by all means, I'll take that all. With the draft, what are you thinking for their record before hearing on the draft picks? Actually,
7-10.
7-10. Somebody's got to lose.
That's a big swing. 8. I mean, listen, they are facing a harder schedule. We'll make that known and clear because first place schedules are harder. Mine was 10-7.
You still think they're going to do as well as they did? Oh,
I mean, that's a 5-game swing with a better defense in my mind. I do think the coaching matters a lot,
Yeah, because especially that system they put in place, they're going to have to learn a new system too.
but a lot of the coaching hires, both the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinators, were promotions from within who plan to run the same style defenses and offenses. That's why I'm a little more warm to not giving them a fall off the planet. However, you're right. Someone does have to finish last. And honestly, I think I have them tied for last in the division at 10-7. So kind of an
Insane division again this year, where there were two 14-3 potentials for a wild card, which is crazy. I just don't think that division repeats the same success as they did last year.
yeah, not as top heavy per se, but I can see a lot more balance being restored to the north.
Yeah, but I'm
Or the
definitely
South.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely getting I'm definitely sticking with 7-10.
Okay, heck yeah, stick on that.
Standing on business, as these young kids say.
Okay, and then
All
as
right.
far as your mock goes,
Okay, yeah, I got it right here. 28th pick, I got them getting Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. Dude's explosive with quick motion to shed blocks. With the loss of Zadarius Smith, he could fill like a Micah Parsons role because he's like a defensive end linebacker type. At least that's what his profile indicated. Especially depending on what he plays when he translates to the league, as far as if they want him to play more defensive end and more linebacker. But linebacker. What do
yeah,
you think?
I would say a pure outside linebacker as well as Jalen Walker with Price slot in as. Definitely playing that Parsons role as a hybrid can do anything. Don't think he's as good of a prospect as Parsons, but again, I could definitely be wrong there. Love the pick though. I went a similar style with you. I chose Michael Williams out of Georgia, defensive end, more of a pure pass rusher in that regard, which I think they need a lot of. I think their run stuffing is really good, especially up the middle. Aiden Hutchinson, he's a sack lord, if that makes sense, where he's just getting after him, getting after him.
What were you thinking about saying? Because I know Sack Lord wasn't the first thing coming to mind.
We're not going to talk about what I thought about saying, but at the same time, I feel like it would just complement a really good defense. Michael Williams is falling a little bit in drafts just due to more like medical concerns over everything, but I think he looks fine. I think the injuries will be behind him, and I think he'll be a good piece to add.
So heard that Jalen Walker may have some type of character concerns, and maybe why he slips a little bit. Um, didn't really read too much into it. Just kind of the thing I was looking at when I was breezing through getting my research. But do you know any light about those character concerns? You want to shed a little bit of light on them?
I don't know too much in regards to the situation, but I have heard the same thing about him, about Will Johnson, why he's slipping down the board a little bit as well. He's a cornerback out of Michigan, and a couple others as well. And it definitely happens around this time of year, especially with Georgia players. So, in all honesty, sometimes you buy into the talent that's there, and this is the risk of drafts at the end of the day. Who knows?
All right, man. Well, it is what it is. We'll see how they come out. We'll see how they fare. See where they get drafted, and see where they play. That was enough to say about the same thing. All right, Green Bay Packers. We have 32 mil, about 32.5 mil in cap space left, good for ninth in the league. Kind of wish they used their cap more, but hey, I mean, I really don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, they're not an awful franchise. It's not like it's not like
They're
they're
like
like
a
a
Jaguars.
New York Jets or something like that where you really wouldn't want to go play where it's least desirable. I mean, the Packers are fine. They have a winning culture. Matt LaFleur is a good coach. Just don't see why they wouldn't use their cap more effectively. I mean, they got Aaron Banks on a 4-year, 77 mil, and then they also got Nate Hobbs on a 4-year, 48 mil. Other notable signings: Mecole Hardman at a 1.5 mil, and then Christian Welch at a 1-year, 1.7 mil or 1.17 mil. Didn't really do much. They lost AJ Dillon to the Eagles. They got Andre Dillard as non-signed. I remember when he was a Philadelphia Eagle, Andre Dillard. Josh Myers to the Jets, TJ Slayton to the Bengals, Eric Wilson to the Vikings, Eric Stokes to the Raiders, and Corey Ballantyne to the Colts. Speaking of the Colts, man, the Colts are letting all their good players hit the market and go over to those Vikings. We talk about them in a little bit if we haven't already. Yeah.
Heck yeah, we will.
All right. C minus in my opinion for their free agency grade. What do you got going on?
I have a C minus as well. They didn't really do much in regards to free agency. I think Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks were the only ones I listed as solid additions. But you lose out on Eric Stokes. You get a 1-for-1 replacement, a little bit better. You lose out on an AJ Dillon. Your backfield's loaded, but you don't do anything. And with the good team, I wanted them to go out and get a wide receiver. They didn't do that. I wanted them
Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't help that they waited so long and everything. They re-signed their guys, which was nice. But at the same time, when Jair Alexander has also had some rumors of getting out of Green Bay, and you're unsure there at corner still, and your right guard position is a mess as well. I just think too many positions are left unfilled for it to be a successful free agency.
I said C minus. I don't know if you gave any harsher than that, but what do you got going on for their prediction?
11-6. I feel like they're going to be a lot healthier on the offensive line as of next season. I think Jordan Love gets a little more comfortable beyond that. I think the wide receivers that they do have are going to have better years, talking about Jaden Reed, talking about a Dontavian Wicks, and talking about a Romeo Dobbs, that is. And I just feel like their defense is good enough to hold down. Still a lot of star-studded names on that defense, best safeties in the league. How do you feel?
I go 9-8, third in the division. I only say that because you got to look like you said, their offensive line is going to be healthier going in this year. They did have some decent injuries last year, but we're going to look at Jordan Love too, and if he can actually stay healthy, that's the thing. Can Jordan Love stay healthy and keep him going? But they have Malik Willis behind him, correct?
Yeah, they do have Malik Willis behind him, who was solid backup last year.
Yeah, I do like him too. Kind of reminds me like of a better AR5. I love watching Malik Willis play when he was in. It was electric in my opinion. But either way, I mean Jordan Love's your guy. That's the guy you want to go forward with. Love, hate love. It is what it is. I feel like it's going to rest more or less on whether their offense can produce and if Jordan Love can stay healthy. As far as the record goes, and if they actually do something in the draft, because like you said, with their free agency, they really didn't do much at all and go out and get somebody like they should have. I feel like they have the cap room to whereas they could have really haggled and got a better pick at receiver, like you were saying, and just you said they got a really studded backfield, right? So
yeah, I really like their backfield. I mean, Josh Jacobs, and then a lot of who you didn't see last year, Marshawn Lloyd, their backup. He was actually a rookie at a USC, really talented on film. And I have a lot of high promise for him. And behind that offensive line, I think it'll be a lot better. Just wish they improved in the passing game as well.
I believe they will. But hopefully we'll see what they do in the draft. Maybe they're holding out for to get receivers in the draft as far as a cap move really for later on down the line. So they can bolster elsewhere. I feel like they think wide receiver is a thing in the draft that they can get. So, they did sign Mecole Hardman, but he's been pretty inconsistent outside of the Chiefs. Even with the Chiefs, he was kind of inconsistent. But he's no Quentin Johnston. But we're not going to talk about that one.
I think he's like a worse Marvez Valdez-Scantling type.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think Quentin Johnston is better than a Mecole Hardman, but he's still trash. I'll make that clear as well.
Let's leave it there, yeah. I got them picking, with the 23rd pick, got them picking James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. He's quick to get off the snap in 2 to 3 point stances. Good hit stick player and Madden references for you, Brandon. Plus, it fills a need.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a great pick and everything. Again, James Pierce is a guy who was mocked number 1 last year before he wanted to stay in college and, you know, go through that process again. And I
He
think
just
it'd
stayed.
be
He
a
stayed.
good
He
thing.
stayed to. Oh, sorry. He stayed to graduate, right?
I
Or what is it?
I don't know if he was draft eligible last year, and he probably just stayed another year to make sure he's draft eligible. But he
I
could
was
be
about
a
to say.
senior as well.
I was about to say if it was more or less just like from an academic standpoint, that man didn't let the NFL get too big for his head. I guess
Yeah,
his head too big for the NFL. So kudos to that man if that's the reason. Good character,
yeah, yeah,
good
and
goals.
yeah. I keep seeing him sliding back and everything. He is a wild card. I think he can go as early as going to the Falcons at 15, but falling as low as the second round. So there's a lot of variance for James Pierce in my eyes. Someone who I kind of see fitting the same bill. Another edge, Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. We talked a little bit about him last week. Really, really good burst, in and out of breaks really well. Problem with him is just size, kind of like a James Pierce. Undersized guys, but production at the NFL level means anything. And Jared Verse was undersized in my eyes last draft cycle, and I got burned because he had the best defensive year out of any rookie. So production is king.
Sure. All right, so let's hit on to those Vikings. One of the better teams, I guess that or one of the better free agencies. They lost a lot of pieces. They have 18.1 mil, go for 22nd in the league. They need a backup quarterback and defensive back, in my opinion. They lost Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. Daniel Jones went to the Colts. Nick Mullins went to the Jaguars, so you can see our quarterback need there. Cam Akers is unsigned. Brandon Powell is unsigned. Trent Sherfield went to the Broncos. Johnny Munt went to the Jaguars. David Quessenberry, like Lloyd Cushenberry.
The
Also got
berries.
yeah, the Berry brothers. But Cam Robinson went to the Texans. Ed Ingram was traded to the Texans. Dan Feeney is unsigned. Dalton Reisner is unsigned. Garrett Bradbury went to the Patriots. Patrick Jones II went to the Panthers. Good for the Panthers, I guess. Jihad Ward's unsigned. Jonathan Bullard is unsigned. Jerry Tillery went to the Chiefs. Kruger Hill is unsigned. Stephon Gilmore is unsigned, which I'm surprised about. Surprised people would want to take him up. I mean, I know he is older, but you know. And Shaquille Griffin, that's the one with the one hand, right? Or is that his brother?
This is his brother,
Yeah,
Shaquem, or something like that.
yeah, okay. And then Fabian Moreau, former commander, I know him well enough. I mean, he got burned enough as it was. He's unsigned, and Cameron Bynum went to the Colts. So, what's their biggest loss in your opinion? There's a lot of them.
There is a good amount. I think like four mainly stuck out to me. I'm not gonna say Cam Robinson is necessarily a big one. However, starting left tackle after Darisaw went down, pretty big switch in continuity there. But again, they addressed offensive line well, so
You think
proud
the
of them
Tex-
there.
you think the Texans were better to get Cam Robinson or just eat the Laramie Tunsil money?
They should have ate the Laramie Tunsil money and then gone and went out and gotten another offensive lineman.
All right then.
But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And then I think Cam Bynum is their biggest loss. I think their secondary is easily the weakest part of their defense. You touched on how bad they need DB help. So
Yeah, I was gonna say Stephon Gilmore and Cam Bynum are mine too. I mean, I'm only saying Stephon Gilmore off a name, but at the same time, dude was pretty solid when he was with the Patriots, and can't really complain.
yeah, he was solid last year. It's just getting older, not as locked down his zone as you want him to be, and um, he's average to below average in man at this point. So really
Yeah.
got to pick a good spot for him.
What about moving him back to like free safety or something?
I don't think he has the range for that. That's the
Yeah.
only reason why I'd be against it. I would just opt into being in a zone heavy scheme, maybe like the Saints or the Jets or the Chargers. Like, see those as possibilities for him. But
Okay. So we also let's get into these signings too. I mean, we got Will
big
Fry. He's gonna fry those defensive linemen, bro. We're gonna get to that second level. Got a five.
SpongeBob sound. The boat.
Got a 5-year, 87 mil deal. Byron Murphy got a 3-year, 54 mil deal. Jonathan Allen went there on a 3-year, 51 mil deal after he was out releasing the Commanders. Javon Hargrave got a 2-year, 30 mil deal. Ryan Kelly, who I really liked from the Colts, love to see his progress. Moving over for a 2-year, 18 mil deal. Isaiah Rogers from the Eagles, I believe, going for a 2-year, 11.045 mil deal. We got Eric Wilson going for a 1-year, 2.6 mil deal. Jeff Okuda going for a 1-year, 2.35 mil deal. And then you got Rondell Moore at a 1-year, 2 mil deal. So, like the Rondell Moore signing, like the Jeff Okuda signing. I mean, I haven't really heard much from Jeff Okuda since he's been drafted with the Lions, um, going to a division rival. How do you think that fares out?
He just hasn't made it work at the NFL level like in college. And I think he's a average to below average guy. Maybe in a Brian Flores scheme, he shows out a little bit. We saw a career year from Byron Murphy Jr. last year. So I can see inklings of that. I just don't see him being crazy good.
Just gotta go on my two favorite signings. Well, actually, no. I'm just gonna say there's the four best signings in my opinion that they got were Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, and then the D tackles Hargrave and Allen. Allen can speak from personal experience. Yeah, as of late, his run stuffing ability hasn't been there, but he still showed consistency when it comes to swallowing up double teams, and really his work ethic and character can really it can really be good for a player like the player that I have them drafting at number 24, uh, Walter Nolan. Basically he could be in that defensive line rotation, and with Allen and Hargrave both on the other side of 30, I feel like him being brought in on a rotation will prove successful as far as his development goes. Um, like I said, with Jonathan Allen's work ethic and character, holding himself accountable, will really teach the young rookie what he needs to know and mold it into that disruptive starter that other teams around the league desperately needed. So that's basically my draft pick for him too. I mean, like I said, I really like that. I really like those signings showing up, especially when you have a Josh Jacobs in the system, you have a Jameer Gibbs, and you have a David Montgomery, and just you love to see them getting run stuff and D tackles. I mean, like I said, Jonathan Allen's run stuff and D's maybe be behind him, but he's still valuable in
For
a sense.
sure.
So
For sure. And that Walter Nolan pick really does complement that Flores scheme, getting after the quarterback and, again, giving him no room, no time to work with, and then adjusting looks based on that. So I really like that pick as well. And again, yeah, you touched on a bunch of the key acquisitions, getting Will Fries. Will you just put the fries in the bag?
damn,
Again,
all right.
for,
He's gonna make defensive linemen putting the fries in the bag.
taking the McDonald's. Um,
Ba-ba-ba.
but definitely expect a better run game this year. In addition to Aaron Jones, now they have Jordan Mason. You complement the offensive line with getting a lot better. They're going to be better around the goal line. They're going to be better in short down scenarios. And again, I think the highest potential out of every team we've covered thus far is the Vikings. Because if somehow J.J. McCarthy is really good out of the gate, that provides a mobile element that you didn't have last year with the Sam Darnold. And that offense was 9th in points already with someone who's an average quarterback. If someone's above average comes in there. But I have him at 10-7. What do you have them at? And what's your free agency grade?
10-7, same thing. I guess I'll agree with you there. Second in the division, in my opinion. B plus plus plus. We're not giving out. We're not no school teachers, so the grades don't really have to be accurate. B plus 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 basically just saying an A minus. Um, they lost out a lot when you look at it first glance as far as our free agency goes, but they also added a lot of studs on the offensive and defensive lines. They made that D line lethal, and I feel like depending on how they draft, the record could be higher. Kevin O'Connell made sure starting from the trenches was a priority this season, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see the shortcomings in the previous couple playoff runs with Kevin O'Connell and really the pressure being too much for him. Just interior blitzes, beating bull rushes, whatever,
Making them
the
see
front
blue.
just wasn't, the front wasn't good enough. So I have him at an A, though. I don't think they could have really done much better in regards to free agency. You keep a lot of the building blocks, A. B, most important, you don't freak out about the Sam Darnold situation, because letting Sam Darnold walk instead of franchise tagging him or giving him a long-term deal was the right move.
You can kind of
And
look at it this way. I'm not saying Case Keenum and Sam Darnold are the same type of cloth, but I'm gonna look at it like this. You let Case Keenum walk after his Minneapolis miracle. You're doing the same thing with Sam Darnold. I feel like history repeats itself here, but at the same time, you're getting a better quarterback in JJ McCarthy, but a lot more upside, a lot more mobility, and putting a good line in front of him. I feel like this team's going to be 10-7, if not more. Maybe it'd be them and the Bears this year for eking out first place, and potentially more. But I mean, who the hell is going to see them going 14-3 with Sam Darnold? It's crazy. You think
yeah,
so? If you're looking at it now, with all the acquisitions that they've had and all the dead weight that they've shed, it's easy to see them as going 14-3 right now. But again, this is pre-draft, pre-training camp, pre-OTAs, pre-cuts, all that nonsense, and pre-preseason. Um,
you just don't know
pre-preseason.
you
Yeah,
don't know what you're getting at quarterback.
on paper it's fine. On paper it's a great team. But they said that about the dream team for Philadelphia back in 2011 when they went 4-12. At the same time with Michael Vick and all that, but like I said, on paper they look really good. And I like what they've done this offseason. Um like I said, hopefully they can get a defensive lineman out of that draft with that 24th pick with Walter Nolan. I'm definitely gonna do another mock draft for next stream and see if anything shakes out differently. But really like what they're doing. Can't say nothing greater. You guys would think I'm a Vikings fan, but I'm really not. It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I love that Nolan pick to him, and again, picks will change come draft season. Trades will happen, and we'll have to adjust on the fly. And again, I keep solid with you and pretty much all of our picks to these teams. As far as my mock goes, I got Malachi Starks falling to 24. Originally last week, I think I had him mocked to 10 to the Bears. However, after everything that went down, I had him sliding.
Yeah. Well, are you ready to put your money where your mouth is? As far as you want people to see your little mock draft we got up on here? 'Cause I
Oh,
got it
put
up.
it up. Put it up.
All right, let's put it up right now. Got it up right here. So we'll go ahead and change the screen over so y'all can see this better. Not have me there. Hang on one second, y'all. There we go. Got his little mock. It's backwards. Let me
Oh, it
fix
is
that.
backwards. Hold up. I
Yeah.
got this.
Should have this ready already. My bad.
No, it's all good. I can read the names. If people are literate, they can read the. Oh, boom.
Yes, sir. Just gotta fix that mirror. Everybody just saw what I was doing, but hey, it's whatever. Um, so he's got number one Cam Ward. That didn't really change. You got Travis Hunter. I think he went up in your draft from the last one.
He
Should I
did.
pull up that comparison?
I can try to pull up the comparison on my phone. I believe it was Shadur Sanders, my last mock.
Let me see.
If you can find it, and we can side by side these.
I'm working on it.
Because I actually had a really solid bit of changes from last one to this one.
So I got your mock from earlier on the left, and I got the one that you have now on the right. So
We can go through it, check on some changes, kind of explain why. Travis at 2, and then Abdul Carter at 3 at that point. I think it's pretty flush. The word right now is Shadur is falling. Shadur is falling. I'm finally going to say, after the Browns signed Joe Flacco, that they're going to just rock out and go best player available.
kind of see that. You have Abdul Carter in your new mock going at number 3 to the Giants, instead of 4 to the Patriots. Why'd you move Abdul? You said
Because
he's his best player available at that point.
Yeah. I think he's good enough to go number one. I think if Titans weren't so QB needy, they would go Abdullah at number one. I I think it's just best player available, and even though they've had visits with Shadur, I just don't think they're totally sold on him. Shadur.
All right, so you got Will Campbell at 4. When
Moving
you
up from
originally,
7.
yeah, I was gonna say you originally had him at 7. I think I had him going in a little bit of a later round, well, later, not round, but a later pick. Um, yeah, like that there, and then you got McMillan going at 8 to the Panthers. You think that I'm still at the same thing, same pick.
Yeah.
Um, I think I talked to Brandon about it. He also said I think the edge pick that he liked the edge pick that I put. Let me
Mike
see if I can.
Green, I believe.
Yeah, it
Was
was
it Mike
Mike
Green?
Green. Yeah, it was Mike Green. He liked Mike Green there, but at the same time, getting them McMillan having that true one that they haven't had since Deontay Johnson left. Um,
Yeah. I think it'd help him a ton.
so we also got you got Mike Green at 9, but before you had Shadur, you have Shadur Sanders going at 9 now to the Saints. You think the Saints pull that trigger and get Shadur?
I do. Now that Derek Carr's availability is actually in question for the 2025 season as he's waiting results from a shoulder MRI, they're wondering if he's going to be ready to even play a game next season. And I could see them definitely jumping in the sweepstakes of Shadur and taking him first round.
Anything else that really sticks out to you? I mean, I know you got Jade Barron. You had him going at 13. I'm trying to see where I even see him over here.
15 or
15,
16 to the
16,
Cards.
yeah.
I did a little bit
Uh,
of switching around. I think the biggest ones are Princely, Human Melon
Human
to
Melon,
Human Melon. He's in the
Princely.
second round now for me. Armand Membu gets selected a lot earlier in this mock, 14 picks higher to the Jets.
Okay.
In this mock, that's one of the biggest differences. I still hold in my dear heart that the Broncos are going for Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I think that's their guy there, or it's going to be Luther Burden, who actually fell all the way down to the Eagles.
Got him at 32 now instead of 23 to the Packers.
A lot different. I feel like he just supports that receiver room really well. Gives
Hey,
you another playmaker.
speaking of Luther, because I keep every time I see Luther Burden's name, I think of Luther Crank from Christmas with the Cranks. You know what that is? You know what movie that is? Tim Allen, I
I've
believe.
I've never watched it, but I've heard of it.
It's kind of like a dry, like King of the Hill version of a Christmas movie. It's kind of funny, but it's a little dry, a little timed, dated, but they want to skip their famous Christmas to go on a cruise, right? So they end up getting a bunch of heat because they usually host a party with their hickory honey ham crap, and then they find out that their daughter's coming home from her tours out wherever she was. I don't remember. She was out in the world somewhere. So of course, but she comes home from her little tours, and then they have to really get something going real quick for a Christmas party. Then all the neighbors pitch in to help, and it ends up being a great Christmas party. But
Okay.
it's one of those, like, Tim Allen's kind of funny, but he's Luther Crank. They call it Christmas with the Cranks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I think of when I think of Luther Bird and I think of Luther Crank, and I'm just like thinking of the Tim Allen in the freaking in that movie when he's sitting in the when he comes out the tanning booth and he's freaking in a speedo in front of in front of everybody and he's all burnt up.
He just got done cranking one out, huh?
Like went out in the tanning booth.
Cranking with the cranks, dude.
Crank.
Goodness.
All right. So anybody else you really have any explanations for that fell or rose based on your two drafts?
Malachi Starks, not a lot of teams in that middle range looking for safety. He fell from 10 all the way to 24. I just feel like positional value, teams don't value taking a safety that high. So got a little antsy with that pick at 10 in my previous one. Have Jalen Walker coming a lot higher in this draft than my last one as well, just because, again, just talk around the teams and who they want and why they want them. Mike Green falling a little bit too, just because what's presented on the board. But I like this mock draft a lot more than my previous one. I'll say that much.
People that are just joining in, previous mock drafts on the left, current mock draft for Peyton's on the right. Brandon, as you see, he has Mike Green instead of going to the Panthers. He has him going to the Saints in the old draft, and now he has Shador taking Shador going for the Saints. But same pick for him. I think he picked McMillan for both drafts. I picked Mike Green for you guys. Either way, it's a good, solid pickup for the Panthers. Solid number one in that opinion with McMillan and a good edge rusher in Mike Green. So, other than that, I mean, I'm looking. You still got O'Marion Hampton going to the Commanders when the Commanders fan base gave me flack saying that he's not going to fall that low. So you want to explain
Mm.
that?
Yeah, a lot of here are the teams that I think are looking at O'Marion Hampton. Have they had the opportunity? I think the Bears could draft him. I think the Cowboys can draft him. And then outside of that, a lot of these teams to me, I mean, maybe the Broncos, maybe the Chargers go for an O'Marion Hampton, but I just don't think they view O'Marion as close to Genty to pick him at 10 or so early. I feel like he has to slip. With how good this running back class is, too, I think you have to let him drop.
Thanks for liking the live, man. Appreciate getting us to 600 likes. You the man, you the goat. Appreciate you on both streams, man. Um, so I like the O'Marion Hampton pick, and Commanders fans can give me all the crap they want. We need a running back outside of what we got. I feel like Robinson needs to kick rocks, and I feel like we need to replace him. Like you said, O'Marion Hampton. I think last week you said he'd be a solid 3-down back. Really can take the ball and punch it in when needed. How's his speed though? Can he break away? Can he break tackles and get to it? We'll get the end zone.
Yeah, I would say he's not the fastest guy in the world by any means, but it's sitting about like a 4.5-ish 40 time, and then the game speed looks pretty solid as well.
All right, for sure. Any other picks that you got before we wrap up here? A little early tonight, 48 minutes.
Yeah, nothing here that really sticks out to my eyes. A lot of the needs are still being addressed. I think the Chiefs have to go tackle, or they have to go offensive lineman. I think that the Cowboys go skill position player, and then the Eagles are my biggest wild card pick for any team in this round. I mean, they have so many different needs, but they're so well rounded at the same time. So it's tough.
All right. That about wraps that up there. Go ahead and throw you back. All right. Well, this wraps up our whole divisions and what we got going on. We just finished NFC North. Next week, we're going to be back for straight draft talks next Monday night. We'll be here at 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard, depending on which. We'll let you know in the JDB Discord server. Go ahead and hit that follow, hit that like button. Get up in that JDB server. Get up there and talk some crap, talk some smack. You're not going to get burnt. He said, I saw my Panthers logo. You're up in that Discord server. Y'all can talk as much smack as y'all want. Nobody's getting banned. Say what y'all need to say, y'all. We're all sports fans. We all love it. But other than that, it's been us here. Glad that y'all are with us tonight, and we'll see you guys next Saturday for the draft preview. You ready for this?
Yep. Let's get it.
All right. See you guys next week.
Take care.